Good afternoon, everyone. It was a really good win on Saturday night. A great atmosphere. Another night game, but a really good atmosphere. And I thought our kids really responded well. I thought we played well in all three phases. We played faster. We played more physical. We finished better. We had really good focus. A lot of things that we talked about that we had to do for us to have a chance to be successful in that environment. I was really impressed with Texas Tech's physicality. I thought they were really good on defense with their physicality. They were really good on special teams as well, and they have a really good returner. And I thought our kick and punt coverage was really good. That kind of neutralized that, and then. We were able to get the turnover on defense for sure, which was huge for us. And then we were able to capitalize on those, getting, I think, 14 points off turnovers when the game was really tight. So pleased with the win. Have a lot of things we've got to clean up on all three phases, but good to do that off of a win. No microphones.
I'll ask, do you know who you're going to start at quarterback?
Do not. We have two guys that we can win with.
When it comes to how your team has progressed since week one, where do you think you've made the most improvement?
I think collectively team defense. We have a lot of young players or new players in the secondary. Subsequently, now we've got a lot of young or new players at linebacker because of some of the injuries. I think just our overall team defense has improved. We still have some work to do. But we have improved on team defense. We're still not clicking on all cylinders in any of the three phases, but some of that you have to give the opponent a lot of credit. We've played some good teams that maybe catching them at the right time or playing them at their place, whatever it may be. There's still a lot of areas for improvement.
Are you prepared to play both quarterbacks?
You bet.
And what is the availability of Will Lee for Saturday?
We hope he can practice on Wednesday. He was around yesterday, did not practice, will not practice today. He'll be around again today. And if everything goes all right today, then he would practice on Wednesday and be available. I don't know how much. We'd have to practice him Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday to see where he could provide some depth or help to us.
TCU lost a couple of linemen to the offensive linemen to the NFL draft. Their offense felt like it hasn't skipped a beat much.
No, they're really big. They're really physical. They've got really good running backs. They lost a lot of NFL kids, just like we lost a lot of NFL guys. But they're still a really good team. They're really explosive on offense. I know that they had a quarterback change because of an injury. And I thought he played really well against BYU, and they threw the ball a lot and threw it successfully. So we've got to get a really good plan because this is a really explosive offense.
Two quarterbacks playing them at the same time in games doesn't work at a lot of places. Why do you think it has worked and can work here?
Well, that's a valid point. Good question. I don't know how it's going to work out on Saturday, guys. It's Tuesday right now. And what we learned from this past Saturday is that we've seen Will play at a really high level and be successful, and then we saw Avery play at a high level and be successful. And so we feel comfortable with both guys leading this football team. I couldn't tell you. I don't have the answer. CK wouldn't have the answer if you thought it would be a 60-40, 50-50, 90-10 split. We have no idea. We're going to go through the game plan and see who, where, and what gives us the best opportunity.
Avery, he was obviously used mainly as a runner last week, but he put some good throws out there too. If you see a different defensive formation, he's in the game, would you trust him to have the whole playbook?
I think we feel that's why I'm excited about the fact that we have two guys that we think we can win with, in the fact of Avery is a better thrower than maybe the rap on him is because of how much we've run him. I've seen him do it an awful lot. And when healthy, Will is a really good runner.
TCU, you guys played two really tight games last year. It seems like every year you guys are in a battle. What is it about them that just makes them a tough team to beat?
They're really athletic, really physical, really fast. They're well coached. They have really good players at all three levels on defense, and it's interesting because the biggest similarity is the defenses that both teams play. They're in the 3-3-5, we're in the 3-3-5. There's a few different things that we do than they do, but like for this week, and I'm sure they're the same way, the scout team looks are probably easier to run because some of the similarities. But I just think we match up and they match up with us really well to make it really competitive games.
Lost in the Avery Johnson talk was maybe Trayshawn Ward got overlooked for kind of getting into a groove. What did you see from him?
A couple things with Trayshawn. I thought he had a great week of practice. I don't know if the Oklahoma State game he was 100% healthy still, and just watching him practice that week, I thought he moved around well, but not with the same urgency, spark, energy that he ran in practice with last week. And we kind of went with a hot hand there, kind of similar to what we did with DJ in Central Florida, although we didn't have Trayshawn that game. Trayshawn was running really well, and it was set up by some of the things that Avery was doing, which I think made Trayshawn's holes bigger, and a lot of eyes were on number 5. And our offensive coaches and CK did a great job calling the game. Regardless, I just thought Trayshawn ran really hard, really physical, didn't go down with single contacts, and I'm hoping that that's the Trayshawn that we all are going to see when healthy, because that kid's an explosive guy, and I saw that in fall camp. I obviously saw that on his film last year.
I don't mean to diminish what Avery did, but, I mean, he was kind of the new guy out there. Not a lot of film on him. How much do defenses adjust, and how challenging is that for a young quarterback?
It's something that is, I get it. What he did was really special. But with the snaps that he'd had previous, SEMO, games out of reach, I don't know how much you're really watching that. Missouri was truly, let's get into a couple formations and run quarterback run. And then this game was, we're going to give him a series rather than sprinkle in plays. And so he felt really comfortable, and the looks that we were hoping we would get, we got. And so after we did some things and got to that third quarter, we decided we were going to run the quarterback a little bit more. And so we went with Avery, and we got those looks. And more than anything on those looks, it did open it up for Trayshawn. So then, I was really impressed with Avery, but I think we had the best of both worlds, because with them not knowing truly how fast Avery was, and some of the things that some of the package that we had, trying to defend both the inside run and the outside run, as well as the fact that he threw a couple of really nice balls to out routes or on the seam ball to Jace. I just think it was probably a lot of things I hadn't prepared for.
And finally, we saw Will on the sideline, how interactive he was, seemingly handling it well. But this can't be easy to be the senior starter, and then this
absolutely
freshman shows up.
I'm sure it's not easy. I know it's not easy. But that's – I'm sure deep down Will was frustrated. But he also wants to win, and that's what we need here, and that's what we expect here. And, one of our core values is to be selfless. And on Saturday, he had to be selfless. And he helped Avery. He and Avery are very close. Adrian and Will were very close. And I think when Will started playing, even though Adrian was hurt, it really helped him to have that support. And I know that Will saw that and felt that from Adrian, that he wanted to give the same thing to Avery, whether it's by a coach's decision, an injury, or what gives us a better opportunity to be successful. He still wants K-State to win. And I also don't want to overshadow the fact that DJ Giddens was in that same boat. And it's easy to talk about the quarterbacks. That's the most high-profile position. But Trayshawn Ward, we just kept giving it to, and we kept DJ on the sideline for a lot of the same reasons. Trayshawn was kind of the hot hand, as well as some of the plays that we were running fit him pretty well. And so, one of the things we talked about before the game is own your role. If that's 1 play, 10 plays, 50 plays, 80 plays, and do the best you can and own that role. And if your role is no plays and you're a backup and a special teams guy, be the best cheerleader you can and help us get this W.
When Avery came in the spring, playing against Texas Tech, it looked like his timing, his burst, also his patience are just above average. Is that something you had to work with him a lot, or was he kind of up to speed with that even as a high school kid?
He's tremendously gifted, as we all know, but it's hard work, and it's practice, and it's repetition. And I go back to all the things that we do in spring and all the things we do in fall camp. No matter who's on what field, we're doing double reps, and we're running the same plays on field 1 as we are on field 2. Whoever's on field, Bo Palmer was on field 2, probably with Avery, as well as a few other guys that are now playing in games. You get those repetitions, and you get coached on those repetitions, and you learn from watching the older guy, so that you can get caught up to the speed as best you can. Now, throw it in the fact that we played on the road in a really hostile environment, really loud environment. The thing that impressed me more than anything, not his ability, because we all know his ability, just how calm he was. And he was just present in the moment to say, I've got a job to do, and I'm going to let these guys up front help me out. But I just was so impressed, not surprised. I was impressed, not surprised with how calm he was.
The offensive line against Tech, was that the best they played this year?
Yeah, I believe it was. I thought they played really well against Central Florida. It's now that consistency that we have to keep striving for, whether it's the offensive line to special teams play to defensive backfield play, whatever it may be. We just got to play really consistent football with the stretch we have coming up.
How much of a confidence booster can the Texas Tech game be for the special teams unit?
I hope a lot in the fact of, I thought Texas Tech, especially their return units, they're really physical. They've got extremely gifted guys back there. Probably got a benefit. They probably shouldn't have brought a few out, but they're explosive players. They want to bring them out, and we did a really good job of not being blocked. We got blocked. We got off blocks. We separated. We kept ourselves alive. Seth Porter made 2 huge plays on kickoff. Jace Brown made a huge play on punt just because he forced a fair catch. We still have to keep getting better at our return game. We had one set up for Phil. We got called for a holding. That we'll get that corrected, but we had something there for the first time in a while. Kick return, it's, as you guys know, we had one, we were just okay on. It's just the ball's getting kicked out of the end zone, just like we are as well with Chris. It's just there's not many opportunities right now.
And then you mentioned the plays that he made in the game, but how important has Seth been during the week, and as far as kind of getting some cohesion and confidence in the special teams unit?
Yeah, well, he's the leader of it, but we're fortunate. We also have Randon Plattner, and Randon loves it when I mention him in a press conference. He gets a kick out of the fact that somehow his name gets brought up. But Randon and Jack Bloomer, I think, are really good special teams guys. Jace Frisian is a really good special teams guy. And then Seth, those guys sit in here when we have meetings, and they lead it, and they challenge guys, and they talk to the guys that, hey, why didn't you watch film on kickoff? I can see that you didn't watch film. You didn't know what you were doing. And we ask questions, and these guys ask questions to make sure that you did look at the scouting report, because that's how important it is to those guys, because they learned from Brock Monty and Landry Weber, Tyler Burns, name the guys. Ross, they learned from all those guys, Nick Allen, of how important this thing, how special teams are, and they want to pass that legacy on to somebody. And I'm sure Seth would like to play more wide receiver. That's lost too. He's a 6-year guy. We have some other guys that the coaches have in front of him. So rather than saying I should be playing, let's own whatever my role is. And he's a great example of whether it's 1 play, 10 plays, 30 plays, dominate your role. And Seth does that week in and week out.
And then how much does a team seeing a game in which they have a couple interceptions, a couple fumble recoveries kind of help get those turnovers on a more regular basis going
Yeah,
forward?
I told you, I hope they come in bunches. When we were able to get 3, and we really almost counted that as 5 turnovers because we had 2 fourth down stops. Because when we miss them on 4th down, it's like a turnover as well. But those turnovers, especially the one with VJ, when we just got the lead after, we got beat up pretty good a few weeks ago. And then we're ahead 17-7, and next thing you know, it's 21-17 on the road, crowd's into it, and we take a drive right back down to make it 24-21, and then boom, we get a pick really quickly, get a short field. Next play, it's 31-21. I mean, that shows you how momentum can switch so quickly in this game. And then I think Kobe Savage's pick in the end zone to stop a drive, whether it's in the red zone on defense or getting a short field for our offense. I mean, those are huge momentum plays, and we're hoping we can build off them and continue to get some of those.
I guess it's me. Wanted to ask about the linebackers. I know Austin Romaine got banged up a little bit, but where are you there as far as?
Well, we're hopeful that he can play. It's not a certain thing yet. So we'll go with Bo Palmer right now at the mic with Austin and Dez. Rex Van Wy, who is one of those guys that's a developing guy that we've taken on a couple road trips. We haven't used maybe one, if not any of his games that he could still help us there. Jake Clifton will be back, which is good with when that penalty happened. So we get us another body there. We're going to bring Terry Kirksey up to help us at Mike backer. Same thing with Rex. I mean, it's just based on how many games we're trying to save those kids' years. There's no question about that. But right now we're not in a position to, because we're down so many guys at the linebacker spot. And then Toby played a handful of plays and is still learning, but can help us in certain situations.
Also, Keegan Johnson, you had him starting now. Is he starting to get back to where?
Yeah,
physically?
I thought he was healthy towards the end of last week, and as and Colin, I know, visited with the offense about this, and I know that we need to throw the ball better. We need to throw the ball with more efficiency. We need to get some explosive plays in the passing game. We talked about it at length. Some of the things that were happening on Saturday. We rushed the ball for an awful lot of yards. We were able to get the ball moving with the quarterback run with Trayshawn. We needed to find a way to win that game. And so the receivers weren't a big part of it, although Phil had a big-time play. I thought Jace did. I thought Sennett had a really big catch that led to some things. But if we're able to rush the football, boy, it's a lot easier to throw it.
Do you see RJ more? I know you've got him in that slot position. Is that where you see him?
He can play all three. That's the thing I like about RJ. We still are looking at those 4 guys, whoever starts, whether it's 11 personnel or 12 personnel. Right now, those 4 guys, when you add Phillip and J. Jack in there, are really taking most of the reps.
You got another team with another kind of fresh quarterback that hasn't played a bunch this season. How taxing has that been on you guys with prep having to dig in and kind of research all these
people
guys?
Know how it feels, right? Because we're probably doing it to other people now, in the fact of how are they going to prep for a couple of guys that can play quarterback. We don't have a lot of film for sure, but and they have a new offensive coordinator this year, and there's some carryover, but there's a lot of the new offensive coordinator's own fingers on this, and you can tell it's his, not what we faced last year. So we have to look at a lot of things. We can't just look at the BYU game and half of Iowa State. We've got to look and see what are things that have hurt us. Forget what TCU has done to hurt us the last couple of years. What have other teams that we've struggled with, whether it's an RPO issue to a drop back issue to a run game issue? We've got to keep fixing some of the issues that we have on defense as opposed to just here's what they do. Because a lot of times people are going to do what they do, and then they're going to hurt you in the things that you don't defend well.
I got to ask, going back and looking at TCU, does it bring back any memories of the Big 12 championship game?
Depends on which side of the ball you look at, honestly, in the fact of when I'm watching with the offense, we have that as part of one of our cut-ups because it's the same defensive coordinator. When I'm watching with the defense, it's not because we don't have that. But you do that. The kids do. We do from a personnel standpoint. But it just seems like, and I know it was only twice, but it seems like we've played them an awful lot. You know what? Yeah, brings back great memories when you have the game at AT&T. Brings back some awful memories when you have the game at Fort Worth. You know, that one didn't end as well. So yeah, I mean it's probably mixed. Well, if you just took that one clip, Glenn, you'd say absolutely, because he blocked two guys in getting Avery into the end zone. And I think Ben's taken a lot of pride in that, of not wanting to be labeled a receiving fullback / tight end. We've challenged him because I think he has that in him to be a dominant guy at the point of attack or dominant guy pulling. And he's gained more confidence too, you know, throughout last year and this year, as well as knowing our offense and knowing who's the guy he's going to block. I mean, that's the thing that I think has helped Ben so much is he watches enough film to know now, okay, I know who I'm going to be responsible for regardless of what the scheme is.
I was going to ask about Jace Brown. Kind of just give me a sense of how he has improved in the recent weeks here. Yeah,
I think we talked before. He had missed a little bit of time, but he's been back with us the last 10 days, and he's got a speed factor that is really, really good that we've got to find ways to get him involved, incorporated offensively, and then as well as special teams. And in last week at Tech, it was one of those things where, hey, you're going to go on punt now, and you're going to do what Echo Boydo did last year. You're going to outrun everybody and force a fair catch. And it's what he did against an excellent return team. Now the game continues to slow down. Can we find some ways to get him the football on offense? I know that's one of the things that our offense is looking at, as well as continuing to try to find ways that we can push the ball downfield with Phil, Jack, Keegan, RJ, but Jace is in that mix with him.
Like an odd question, but do you feel like Avery has handled the success short term like you thought he might?
Absolutely. In the fact that I don't see all the things, but he credited his offensive line and credited Will Howard, and just the fact of how much fun he had celebrating with his teammates. That tells you an awful lot right there.
Chris, back to Ben for just a second. Is he seeing things and dealing with things maybe that he didn't have to last year during games?
Yeah, we're getting a lot of doubles on him. You know, especially on third down, people are bracketing him, and we've got to be able to notice that as much from a coaching perspective than we do from a, hey, how come the quarterback didn't see that? You don't see that on film, because maybe there's not somebody that they're bracketing, specifically a tight end. A lot of times somebody will double a wideout. But Oklahoma State did, Texas Tech did, of doubling a tight end, and we got to find out where that double's coming from and how can we exploit that, because then somebody's getting singled, and that's our job more as coaches than I would say it's the quarterback's job to figure out. And we got to see that from up above and say, hey, when we get into this formation, here's how they're taking away Ben, so we've got to go back to this look.